Have you ever found yourself in the middle of an English conversation thinking you've got the grammar down, you know the words, but then someone uses a phrase and it just stops you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The words make sense one by one, but together.
Exactly.
I-
Together, it's like, what does that actually mean? It's, it's a huge frustration. Honestly, it feels like the biggest wall to climb past intermediate level.
It really is.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're aiming to give you a massive shortcut, sort of blast through that linguistic minefield. We've pulled together insights from expert English teaching sources.
Material that's really designed to bridge that gap, right, between knowing the rules and actually, sounding natural.
Precisely. So our mission today is, let's call it, a shortcut to sounding genuinely conversational. We're diving deep, really deep, into 4 phrases, essential ones.
Which ones are we tackling?
We've got even though, then, was, or were supposed to. After that, take a chance. And finally, on second thought.
Ah, okay. The heavy hitters.
Right. And the goal isn't just definitions, it's the how and the when. How do you use these to sound, well, like you actually speak English day to day, to get across complex stuff efficiently, naturally?
And they really are more than just vocabulary, aren't they? They're like
Yeah.
linguistic power tools. They do the heavy lifting for really complex communication.
How so?
Well, think about it. Expressing concession. Something happened despite something else. Dealing with disappointment, like when plans fall through. Talking about risk, taking a leap.
Or just changing your mind mid-sentence.
Exactly, that real-time correction.
Yeah.
If you can handle these 4 structures, you unlock a whole new level of nuance in English conversation instantly.
Okay, so we're not just scratching the surface.
Oh, wait, we're going deep. We'll break down the grammar, sure, but more importantly, we'll compare them. Look at phrases that seem similar but carry totally different weight.
And lots of examples.
Definitely. Lots of real-world scenarios for each one, so you know exactly which tool to grab when the conversation needs that subtle shift in tone or meaning. Ready to jump in?
Let's do it. Okay, first up. Even though I like to think of this one as the champion of contrast.
Mm-hmm. Good way to put it.
When someone uses this phrase, they're sending a very specific signal, aren't they? They're basically saying, hang on, I'm about to tell you about a condition
Right.
that logically you'd think would stop the main thing from happening. And that's why the main thing is kind of surprising or, worth mentioning.
Exactly. It flags up the unexpectedness.
It's all about the emphasis, I think. It's not just saying, the movie was long, but it was good. That's okay.
Yeah, that's just a simple contrast.
But saying the movie was great, even though it was like 3.5 hours long, that feels different.
Totally different. You immediately get that the length was a real hurdle, a significant obstacle that the movie's quality somehow amazingly overcame.
Right, it battled the runtime and won.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that emphasis is why grammatically we call even though a subordinating conjunction, but one with a really strong emphatic function. Its job is to introduce that dependent clause.
The even though part.
Yeah, the even though part, which sets up that opposition or difficulty against the main clause, the main point you're making.
So it's stronger than just although. People sometimes mix those up.
Oh, definitely stronger. That's a key distinction. Although wadelity is more neutral, it just acknowledges a contrast, often quite formally. Even though ramps up the intensity. It makes that contrast feel almost like a near impossibility that was overcome.
Okay, so structure-wise, how does that play out? Does it matter where you put the even though bit in the sentence? Does it change the feeling?
Oh, absolutely. The flexibility there is part of its power. If you stick the even though clause right at the beginning.
Like even though the flight was delayed?
Exactly. Even though the flight was delayed, she arrived on time. By starting with the difficulty, the delay, you're setting the listener up for the surprise. You foreground the obstacle.
Okay, priming them for the unexpected positive outcome.
Right. Here's another one, maybe. Even though the market crashed last quarter, our tech stocks actually gained value. You lead with the crash, making the gain the surprising twist.
Got it. And if you put it in the middle?
Then you usually state the main point first, and the even though adds the surprising context or concession afterwards.
Okay.
Like, he decided to go bungee jumping even though he's terrified of heights. The main action comes first, the decision to jump, and the even though adds the context that makes that decision surprising.
Or the city approved the new building project even though environmental groups protested strongly.
Perfect. The vote is the main news. The protests are the contradictory context introduced by even though. It often adds a bit of tension or narrative weight when used mid-sentence.
Okay, let's talk about applying this. I'm thinking about scenarios.
Yeah.
How does it work when you want to show someone really push through something? Resilience.
Scenario 1, overcoming difficulty. Yes, this is where even though absolutely shines in everyday storytelling, it lets us frame achievements not just as successes, but as successes despite challenges.
Like passing a really tough exam.
For sure. She passed the bar exam on her first try, even though she was working 2 jobs throughout law school. See, it's not just she passed, it's she passed despite this major hardship.
It adds respect for the effort.
Exactly. Or think about professional settings. Our team launched the product on schedule even though we lost 2 key developers midway through. The even though highlights the setback, making the on-schedule launch seem much more impressive.
Right, it underscores the achievement against the odds. I guess you hear it in recovery stories too.
All the time. He completed the marathon even though he'd only started training 6 months after major knee surgery. It emphasizes the physical or mental strength required. It's about highlighting that internal fortitude.
It really frames the person's character. Okay, what about when 2 facts just seem weird together? Like they shouldn't both be true.
Scenario 2, contradictory information. Yeah, this is another key use. When you have 2 pieces of information that seem logically at odds, or one should cancel the other out.
Like loving a city that's ridiculously expensive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore living in New York, even though the rent takes like half my paycheck. The love for the city seems to clash with the financial strain, and even though bridges that apparent contradiction.
Okay. Or maybe loyalty. Like, he still supports his childhood football team even though they haven't won a championship in like 50 years?
Perfect example. The continued support seems illogical given the team's performance, and even though points that out, it acknowledges the conflict.
I hear it with products too. I'm completely obsessed with this new coffee machine, even though it took me literally 3 hours to figure out how to program it.
Yes, the initial frustration versus the eventual satisfaction, even though handles that tension beautifully.
So this brings us to comparing it. You mentioned people mix it up with despite or in spite of. What's the key difference there? It's not just grammar, is it?
Well, the grammar is different first. Despite and in spite of need a noun or gerund like despite the rain or in spite of feeling tired.
Right, not a full clause like even though it was raining.
Exactly. But more importantly, the tone is worlds apart. Despite and in spite of are often more formal, more neutral. They just state the contrast.
Okay.
Even though, however, carries an emotional weight. It signals surprise, difficulty, maybe even a hint of admiration or frustration, depending on the context.
So in a business report, you might write, sales increased despite the economic downturn for neutrality.
Probably, yes. To sound objective.
Uh-huh.
But if you are presenting that report, you might say, and incredibly, our sales actually increased even though the whole economy was tanking. You use even though to convey the significance, the surprise, the achievement.
Ah, okay. It injects feeling.
It does. It signals that the obstacle wasn't trivial. It tells a mini story of struggle and surprising success, rather than just listing 2 opposing facts.
It's like putting a little verbal spotlight on the challenge, saying, look how big this was, and yet...
Precisely. It elevates simple reporting to a narrative of overcoming something significant. That's why mastering it adds so much color to your conversation.
Okay, let's pivot now. We're moving from overcoming challenges to, well, dealing with things that didn't happen as planned. Disappointment, maybe?
The language of unmet expectations.
Right. Our second phrase, was or were supposed to. This one feels incredibly common.
It is. Super useful.
Because it's describing something in the past, right? An obligation, a plan, a schedule, something that was expected to happen.
But didn't, for whatever reason.
Exactly. And when you use it, you're not just saying it didn't happen. You're specifically highlighting that gap, the gap between the plan and the reality.
That's the core function, and the grammar backs that up perfectly. It's always that past tense of to be, was, or were, plus supposed to. That structure locks the expectation firmly in the past.
Setting up the contrast with what actually occurred.
Precisely. And what's really interesting here, I think, is that it usually implies an external source for that expectation.
What do you mean by external?
Well, it wasn't just your personal wish or desire. It was often a rule, a schedule set by someone else, your boss, the airline, the organizers, or a formal arrangement like a meeting time or a deadline.
Ah, okay. So if I say, I was supposed to finish this report by Friday, It sounds like the deadline came from my boss or the project plan, not just my own ambition.
Exactly. It implies an arrangement or requirement imposed from the outside. It's not just, I wanted to finish it. It's, the plan required me to finish it.
I hear learners sometimes get this wrong, maybe using the present tense or just saying it didn't happen, but was supposed to? Has that specific flavor of a plan gone awry?
It does. It carries the weight of the broken arrangement.
So how does that play out in different situations? Let's start with the most obvious one. Schedules and plans.
Scenario 1. Schedules and appointments. Yeah, this is the absolute classic use case. Anytime a plan got canceled, delayed, or just missed the mark.
Like travel problems, everyone relates to those.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
We were supposed to land in Paris at 3 p.m., but because of the strike, we ended up being diverted to Brussels. It clearly states the original plan, Paris at 3, and contrasts it with the reality, Brussels.
Or just being late for something. I was supposed to meet my friend for coffee at 10, but the subway was completely stalled.
Perfect. It explains the lateness by referring back to the agreed-upon time. Or think about service appointments. People use this to express frustration all the time.
Oh, yeah.
The delivery was supposed to arrive between 1 and 4 p.m., but the truck didn't actually show up until 7. The phrase highlights the failure to meet the promised window. It focuses on the breach of the agreed schedule.
Right. The failure wasn't just that it was late compared to the plan.
Exactly.
Okay, what about higher stakes, like rules or duties that weren't followed?
Scenario 2. Rules and duties. This is where it points out non-compliance, often with a little hint of consequence or maybe just mild disapproval. Think about workplace rules or official procedures.
So like in a safety briefing.
Yeah. The emergency instructions were supposed to be posted by every exit, but the safety inspector found several were missing. It states the requirement, supposed to be posted, and the failure to meet it.
It's factual, describing the rule violation.
It is. Or in an academic context, students were supposed to cite all their sources using the MLA format, but many used APA instead. It clarifies the expected standard versus the actual outcome. It points out the deviation from the rule.
Okay. And the third scenario you mentioned, initial intention.
Scenario 3. Initial intention before a change. Yeah, this is great for explaining why things are different now. You establish what the original plan or setup was before something intervened.
Like if an event had to change venues.
Exactly. The wedding reception was supposed to be outdoors in the garden, but then the thunderstorm hit, so we moved it into the main hall. You use was supposed to be to set the scene the original garden plan, which makes the move indoors understandable.
It explains the shift by referencing the starting point.
Right. Or, this room was supposed to be the nursery, but then we decided to make it a home office instead. It clarifies the history of the room's intended purpose.
Okay, this is where we need to talk about alternatives. People might think, can I just use should have? What's the difference there? Because they feel kind of similar.
Crucial difference. They feel similar, but the implication is totally different. If you say, the party should have been outside, what does that sound like to you?
Sounds like regret. Like, we made the wrong decision moving it inside. It would have been better outside. It feels personal, judgmental.
Exactly. Should have is heavy. It carries moral weight, regret, criticism of a past decision or action. It focuses on the wisdom or correctness of the choice.
But if I say the party was supposed to be outside,
then the focus shifts. It's simply describing the original plan and the fact that it changed, probably due to external factors like the weather. It's more descriptive of the failed arrangement, less about whether the decision to change was good or bad.
So it's less judgmental.
Much less judgmental, usually. Was supposed to. Focuses on the plan itself, failing or changing. Should have focuses on a person's failure to do the right or better thing.
Okay, let me try an example. If a doctor missed a diagnosis, they might feel terrible and think, I should have ordered that test sooner. That's personal failure.
Right. That's regret and self-criticism.
But if the test results were supposed to come back on Tuesday, but the lab delayed them until Friday, the doctor might report the results were supposed to arrive Tuesday.
Perfect. That describes the failure of the system or the schedule, not necessarily the doctor's personal failing. It's about the external arrangement breaking down.
That's a really useful distinction. So using was or supposed to lets you talk about plans falling through without automatically assigning blame or expressing deep regret.
Precisely. It's a cleaner way to describe that gap between expectation and reality, especially when external factors or simple changes in plan were the cause.
All right, let's shift gears again. We've done contrast, we've done failed plans. Now let's talk about action, about stepping into the unknown.
Okay. Moving towards opportunity and risk.
Exactly. Our third phrase, take a chance. This one feels really embedded in how we talk about ambition, maybe, making bold moves.
Absolutely. It's a hugely versatile idiom. It captures that whole spirit of making a choice when you don't know the outcome, for sure.
Yeah, it's central to stories about entrepreneurs or big life changes, isn't it?
Definitely. It's about willingly stepping into uncertainty, whether that's a huge corporate gamble or just, asking someone out on a date.
So what's the core meaning we're working with here?
At its heart, take a chance means trying something when the result is uncertain, possibly negative, maybe hard to predict. It implies the situation is new, untested, or just inherently risky.
So there's always an element of risk assessment involved.
Implicitly, yes. And structurally, pay attention to the preposition on. You can just take a chance, generally speaking.
Like, let's just take a chance and see what happens.
Right. But very often you specify what you're risking it on.
Yeah.
And then you need on. Take a chance on something.
Yeah.
Take a chance on someone.
Okay, like we took a chance on that new marketing strategy.
Exactly. Or the manager took a chance on the inexperienced candidate. The on connects the risk to its object.
Let's explore the scenarios, starting with the big ones, business, careers. How does it function there?
Scenario 1. Career business risk. This is prime territory. It's often used to describe or justify those high-stakes decisions where failure is a real possibility, but the potential rewards are massive.
Like investing in a startup.
For sure, you might hear. Most investors were wary, but she decided to take a chance on the untested technology. It frames the decision as bold, not just a standard investment.
It adds that narrative layer of courage, maybe.
It does, compared to just saying she invested in the technology. Saying she took a chance suggests it wasn't purely logical. It required a leap of faith, a willingness to embrace the unknown. It hints at the emotional side of the decision.
Makes sense. And people use it for their own careers too, right? Like quitting a safe job.
All the time. He could have stayed at his corporate job forever, but he took a chance and started his own brewery. Again, it highlights the trade-off. Security versus the potential uncertain reward of following a passion.
Okay, what about more personal situations? Life changes, relationships.
Scenario 2, personal opportunity. Yeah, here it often relates to emotional courage. Situations where you have to push past fear or hesitation.
Like moving somewhere completely new.
Definitely. She didn't know anyone there, but she took a chance on moving to Berlin for a year. It frames the move not just as relocation, but as an act of bravery, embracing the unknown socially and culturally.
Or maybe in relationships, trying to mend things.
Absolutely. Things had been rocky for ages, but they decided to take one last chance on making it work before separating. It emphasizes the commitment to try, even while acknowledging the high stakes and the possibility of failure.
Okay, so the phrase itself seems pretty neutral, but you hear it used positively, like, be bold, take a chance, and negatively, like, he took a stupid chance. How does context shape that? This feels important.
It's absolutely critical. The phrase itself just means to attempt something uncertain. Whether that attempt is seen as wise or foolish depends entirely on the surrounding circumstances.
So what makes it positive? Calculated risk.
Exactly. We view taking a chance positively when the person seems informed, they've weighed the odds as much as possible, and the potential upside seems worth the risk involved. It's about calculated boldness, informed risk-taking.
Like a surgeon trying a new, promising procedure after careful study.
Right. The team took a chance on the innovative surgical technique and it saved the patient's life. That sounds like responsible, courageous innovation.
And the negative side, recklessness.
Precisely. If the decision seems impulsive, ill-prepared, based on bad information, or the potential downside is catastrophic compared to a small potential gain, then take a chance sounds negative, cynical. It implies recklessness or foolishness.
Like he took a chance on investing his life savings based on an email from a Nigerian prince.
Exactly. That's not taking a calculated risk. That's being dangerously naive. The phrase describes the action, but the context screams reckless gamble.
So the same phrase, but the interpretation hinges entirely on whether the risk seems justified or stupid.
Entirely. Learners need to be aware of this. When you use take a chance, the details around it determine whether you're praising courage or criticizing foolishness.
Thinking bigger picture, why is this idiom so common in stories about success or progress?
Because it perfectly captures that moment of intentional vulnerability. When someone chooses to act, despite not knowing the outcome, it allows people, especially looking back, to frame their success not as dumb luck.
But as a result of their courage to act.
Exactly. It adds agency and bravery to the narrative. If I hadn't taken a chance on that crazy idea back in college, none of this would exist.
Mm.
It transforms a potentially random event into a defining moment of deliberate risk-taking. It's a powerful rhetorical tool.
Okay, our final phrase. And this one, I think, might be the most valuable for just smoothing out everyday conversation.
Ah, yes. The great conversational fixer.
On second thought, it's like the ultimate utility phrase, isn't it? You say something and then immediately realize, wait, no, that's not quite right. Or, maybe not.
It's your instant correction button.
Right, and mastering it is so key because it lets you change your mind or fix a mistake without sounding clumsy or, like you don't know what you're talking about. It actually makes you sound more fluent, paradoxically.
It really does. Its whole function is to signal that pivot. It tells the listener, hold that first thought. I'm revising it right now. It's about being transparent in your thinking process.
You're letting them see the wheels turn for a second.
Exactly. And structurally, it's pretty fixed. It almost always pops up right at the beginning of the corrected statement.
Usually with a pause after it.
Definitely. In speech, there's a natural pause. Blah, blah, blah. On second thought, pause actually, blah, blah, blah. That pause is crucial. It signals the shift. In writing, you'd use a comma.
Okay, let's hit the scenarios. Where does this lifesaver come in most handy?
Scenario 1. Changing orders or requests. This is the absolute classic everyday use. Low stakes, high frequency. Think restaurants, cafes, shops.
Right, the diner example.
The quintessential diner example. I'll have the cheeseburger and fries. Or, wait, on second thought, maybe I should be healthier. I'll just have the grilled chicken salad instead.
It's smooth. Much better than just blurting out, no, wait, change.
Much smoother. It politely acknowledges the first request, I'll have the cheeseburger, and signals a clean switch to the new one, chicken salad. It tells the server, okay, stop processing order A, here comes order B. Efficient and polite.
Definitely. Okay, what about slightly higher stakes, like changing your mind during a discussion?
Scenario 2. Revising an opinion in discussion. Yes, this happens all the time in meetings, debates, even casual conversations. You state an opinion, but then new information comes up, or you just reflect for a second.
And realize you need to adjust.
Exactly. It shows you're actually listening and thinking, not just sticking to your guns. Imagine a team meeting. Initially, I thought merging the databases was too risky, but, on second thought, if we use that new encryption method you mentioned, maybe it is feasible.
So it allows you to show flexibility without losing credibility.
Precisely. It signals intellectual honesty. You're acknowledging that your first take might not have been complete. It prevents you from sounding dogmatic or unwilling to consider other points. It's actually a sign of conversational confidence.
That's a good point. Okay, third scenario. Backing out of something.
Scenario 3. Withdrawing an offer or commitment. Yes. This is invaluable for politely reversing a quick agreement you maybe made too hastily.
We've all done that. Agreed to help someone move on a Saturday.
And then remembered you have something else on.
Right.
So you might say, yeah, sure, I can totally help you guys move next weekend. Oh, wait. On second thought, I completely forgot I have that dentist appointment early Saturday morning. I'm so sorry, I probably can't make it after all.
It softens the withdrawal a bit.
It does. It signals the reason for the change is a realization, not just flakiness, hopefully. It facilitates a quick, relatively graceful exit from the commitment.
So that speed and grace, that's the real conversational value, isn't it? Why native speakers use it constantly.
Absolutely. It's linguistic efficiency.
Yeah.
It's a universally understood shorthand for, oops, just reevaluated that statement decision offer and need to correct it immediately.
Saves you from a much more awkward backtrack.
Totally. Instead of a long, stumbling apology like, actually, what I just said, I need to take that back because I wasn't thinking clearly. And the real reason is you just use on second thought. Clean, quick, clear.
And you mentioned confidence before. It shows you're confident enough to self-correct in real time.
Exactly. It demonstrates cognitive flexibility. You're showing you prioritize accuracy or making the right decision now over just sticking rigidly to whatever first came out of your mouth. It's a subtle marker of fluent, dynamic thinking in conversation.
It turns potential confusion into a clear signal. Okay, brain recalculating. Here's the updated version.
Perfectly put. Hashtag tag outro. So let's just quickly pull all that together. We've gone through 4 really powerful structural phrases today, haven't we?
Yeah.
Absolutely essential for getting that natural, nuanced English sound.
Yeah, each one doing a really specific job.
Right. We had, even though that's for your strong contrast, highlighting surprise, despite difficulty, then was or were supposed to. That's the go-to for failed plans, unmet schedules, those external expectations that didn't pan out.
Then the action phrase, take a chance.
Yeah, capturing that spirit of calculated risk, stepping into the unknown, seizing an opportunity, and finally the conversational MVP.
On second thought, your instant revision tool.
Exactly. Allowing for that immediate self-correction, showing your thinking in real time. Mastering these isn't just about knowing more words.
No, it's about knowing how to structure your thoughts and communicate complex situations smoothly.
That's the key. Moving these from just words you recognize to tools you actively use. That's what really levels up your fluency and makes your expression feel authentic. They're the framework for managing reality, expectations, risk, and change in everyday English conversation.
Okay, so here's the challenge for you listening right now. This week, become a phrase detective. Really actively listen for these 4 phrases. In movies, podcasts, conversations you overhear.
Paying attention to how they're used, the situation, the tone.
Exactly. Notice the context. And then here's the active part. Try to use just one of these phrases, a real conversation each day. Just one.
Don't worry if it feels a bit forced at first.
Not at all. The goal is practice. Practice until they stop feeling like something you learn and start feeling like something you just say. Until they become part of your own natural toolkit.
And maybe we can leave you with a final thought to chew on, building on that idea of transparency. If on second thought is how we signal a conscious, immediate revision, what little verbal habits, maybe filler words or phrases, do you rely on without even realizing it? What subconscious tactics might reveal how you subtly revise or express complex feelings or reservations in real time? Think about your own speech patterns. What do they say about your own cognitive gears turning?